Live from downtown Detroit. Local 4 News at 5 starts now.
A brutal carjacking here in Harper Woods where a 2-year-old little girl is thrown to the ground. We'll hear from that baby's mother.
A mother comes home to find her son hiding in the closet. And when you hear the disturbing details of how he got there, you won't believe it.
All right, Jason, but first, President-elect Trump gets his first look at his soon-to-be new home as he meets with President Obama at the White House for the very first time since being elected.
We'll get to that in just a minute. Let's start, though, with breaking news out of Independence Township. A garbage truck catches fire at a gas station on Dixie Highway just south of Mabee Road.
Now, this is what it looked like before firefighters arrived. This is the view from Sky 4 after crews got the flames under control. No word yet on what caused that fire.
Our other top story tonight at 5, President-elect Donald Trump and President Obama seem to put aside their differences during their brief remarks this afternoon at the White House.
And all of that is happening as protests over the election have popped up in cities across the country. In fact, more protests are expected.
Steve Handelsman following Trump's visit to Washington, and he is at the White House tonight. Steve.
Thanks. Good evening. After such a wrenching election, here at the White House today, this first face-to-face meeting ever between President Obama and President-elect Trump that went long and ended with kind words seemed a return to civility.
Well, thank you very much, President Obama.
The President-elect and President Obama discussed Trump taking over as Commander-in-Chief.
Setting up a White House, we talked about foreign policy, we talked about domestic policy.
And most of all, I want to emphasize to you, Mr. President-elect, that we now are going to want to do everything we can to help you succeed, because if you succeed, then the country succeeds.
Trump is cleared to hear top secrets.
We discussed a lot of different situations, some wonderful and some difficulties.
On Monday, Obama called Trump unfit. Trump had called Obama ineligible, not U.S. born. Today, Trump said he will keep seeking Obama's counsel.
Mr. President, it was a great honor being with you, and I look forward to being with you many, many more times in the future. Thank you, sir.
Calling Obama a good man.
Very good man.
On Capitol Hill, Trump talked quick legislative action with top Senate Republican Mitch McConnell and House Speaker Paul Ryan, who had shunned the Trump campaign, but now is on board.
Hit the ground running to make sure that we can get this country turned around and make America great again.
But truthfully, we can't get started fast enough. And whether it's healthcare or immigration, so many different things.
The new boss in Washington eyeing what he called the swamp that he will drain. The transition team for the president-elect moves from Trump Tower down here to Washington later this month to work on who gets all the big jobs in the Trump administration. At the White House, Steve Handelsman, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Steve. And if you want to see the complete video of President Obama and President-elect Trump's remarks from the Oval Office, we've posted it to clickondetroit.com. You can find it right there. The link will be right there on the homepage.
It's a car that shouldn't be that difficult to spot. Police in Harper Woods putting out the alert tonight after this purple Ford Edge was carjacked from a woman who was parked in her driveway. But it's what the carjackers did to a 2-year-old child in the back seat, making it even worse. Sean Lay following the story for us tonight. And Sean, I guess they just threw the child right to the ground.
Devin, it's absolutely outrageous. Just met with the child and the child's mother. Mother says guns drawn on them in the driveway of their own home. She's screaming that her 2-year-old little girl is in the back seat of the car. So one of the carjackers throws open the door, picks up the little girl, car seat and all, and dumps her to the ground.
All I heard was, don't move, don't say nothing.
This young mom says it was an ambush. Her boyfriend was driving her home from work just after 11 Tuesday. When she pulled into her driveway on Kenosha in Harper Woods, she was rushed by 2 gunmen.
The guy pointed the gun to me because I was about to go and get my baby, and then he pointed to me and said, don't come any closer. And I said, I just want my baby.
Her 2-year-old daughter was in the back seat. The little girl was watching Zootopia on her mom's phone. You can see the cracked screen and a welt over the girl's eye. That's because the gunman ripped the little girl from the car, throwing the baby to the ground so the gunman could steal their SUV.
He got her out the car and just tossed her on the grass with the car seat and my phone. I'm still kind of traumatized about it.
Back here live again, police telling us this is a purple 2007 Ford Edge, the family's Ford Edge that was taken by the carjackers. Michigan plate right there on your screen, BFV 330, a purple Ford Edge still out there, a light colored SUV, Devin, used by the carjackers to actually follow this couple home so they could commit the crime. Back to you.
So in the end then, Sean, was anyone hurt?
You know, just a few bumps and bruises on the girl. She was checked out. She is okay. The woman's boyfriend was also thrown from the vehicle. He is also fine tonight, but all three very shaken up.
No doubt about it. All right, Sean. Meanwhile, a mother's intuition may have saved the life of her son. She came home early from work to find her son a victim of what she and police now both suspect is child abuse.
And all this happening very early this morning at a home in Melvindale. Jason Colthorpe joins us now. He spoke to that mother a short while ago. And Jason, you're at the police department there. What's the story behind this?
Well, Carmen, this mother just had a funny feeling. You heard the way Devin said that, an intuition, and you can relate to this. She had a funny feeling. She bartends at night, and she was supposed to close last night, but she switched, wanted to get home, and when she got there, her ex-husband met her outside the house, was surprised to see her. The ex is the one who was watching the boy, and when all of that went down, she knew something was very wrong. It was a terrifying discovery. A woman came home from work just after 2 a.m. to find her 3-year-old son hiding in the closet with clear signs of abuse. He was taken from the home by ambulance to the hospital. The babysitter was the woman's ex, although he's not the boy's father. I spoke to the mother and her son today, who didn't want to go on camera, but she described to me the horror she arrived home to find. Her little one with bruises and cuts on his head, face, and ears, whip marks from a hanger on his back. And she says he'd had his hands, feet, and mouth all duct taped. Police confirmed the bruises and the bump on the head and arrested the ex-husband later in Allen Park. When detectives interviewed him, I'm told he admitted to some of the allegations, but says it was an accident, a result of the two of them just playing around. They are now following up on his side of the story, and until that happens, nothing will be submitted to the prosecutor for charges to be filed. We're told the 42-year-old suspect has a lengthy criminal history, but nothing that includes child abuse. That suspect also remains in jail tonight. He is awaiting charges, I'm told. I just talked to the detective working this case just a few minutes ago before we went on air. He said that could happen tomorrow, but again, he's still investigating two sides of this story. The mother told me she's hoping for two things here. One, he doesn't get out on bail because she's afraid he might do something. And two, that he serves a long time in jail for what he did, allegedly did, to her son. We're reporting in Melvindale tonight. Jason Colthorpe, Local 4.
Jason, just listening to all those injuries, I know the boy was taken to the hospital. He is out. How's he doing?
You know, Carmen, I wish I could tell you he's doing good, but I was talking to her and I saw him and she showed me the marks on his back, the cuts on his face and the bruise on his head. And while we were talking, he was down on the floor. She kind of motioned for him to get up and he couldn't. He was in a lot of pain. So, I mean, he's going to be okay, but I think it was really heartbreaking to see, Carmen.
It's a good thing she made it home early. All right, our Jason Colthorpe reporting for us live. Well, tonight we are getting our first look at the very moment a speeding car slammed into a Madison Heights home.
We've got home security camera video that shows the car speeding down the street. Then you see a bright flash there. And as our Jermont Terry shows us, it was right after that flash, one man sprang into action.
This week, when that Mustang careened into this house, catching it on fire, it shocked everyone, especially the man inside. It turns out there's video of it all going down.
In the new video, you can see the tail lights of the Mustang speeding down Barrington near 11 Mile. Seconds later, there's a huge explosion.
Seeing it from a different angle is definitely a different perspective.
It's Justin Grosh's first time seeing video of what he witnessed firsthand.
I watched it myself, but I hadn't seen it from that angle. So it was like perfect timing. I mean, I was at the right place at the right time. I mean, I looked to the right, car's coming down, and then boom.
Some people snapped images of the car and the house it crashed into while in a ball of fire. Justin is one who jumped into action to free the trapped driver.
Everybody keeps talking about, you're a hero, you're a hero. Well, no, it was the right place at the right time. And if it wasn't for the other two gentlemen, Keith and James, well, who knows what would happen.
He doesn't live in the area, but he believes there's a reason he was driving by at that moment.
Actually, I heard somebody in the crowd say, he's a goner, leave him. And that's when that's when I jumped in. I couldn't stand around and watch somebody get burned alive.
Madison Heights police suspect the driver was under the influence of something. They are awaiting toxicology results to determine what was in his system.
He was on something.
The driver and the man inside the house lived. Justin walks away with a new perspective on his own life and the importance of stepping up.
The kind of person I am. I just, you know, like I said, I was in the right place at the right time, and I've been back because I want to help them.
Justin tells me he now wants to pursue a career as a firefighter because what he experienced outside this house proves helping others is an incomparable satisfaction. Reporting in Madison Heights, Jermont Terry, Local 4.
You know, and cameras are everywhere. And fortunately, somebody was able to record that so he could see it.
Yeah, you know it.
Good luck to all of them.
Right there. A woman building bridges in her community, and she's just 84 years old.
Ah, that's not old. Well, she's turning talk into action and helping bring two groups at odds with each other together. That's coming up. Hi, Ben.
Hey, Carmen, we almost set a record today, just about 5 degrees off, but those numbers sliding into the 50s tonight. Breezes will be calming down, and we'll tell you what that's going to do for the weekend. Straight ahead.
Getting into a top college these days has never been tougher, but there's a hidden secret shared by recruiters and experts your son or daughter probably doesn't even know about. Trapped by toxins, people living in one Detroit community feel they're stuck and can't get out. So they're literally taking pictures of the pollution on the road with them to try and get the help they're desperate for. The story on Local 4.
Tonight, new at 6.
Police in 2 neighboring communities are stopping people in their front yards to make them aware of a crime trend that's getting worse. New at 6, what you need to know if you're raking leaves anytime soon, believe it or not.
Plus, angry and armed. What police say this local man said to another driver as he showed them a deadly weapon.
All right, now here at 5, a woman living near the Marathon Oil Refinery has been working for years to bring attention to what she and her neighbors say they have been forced to live with.
Emma Lockridge is her name, Devin. She says she's wanted to move out of the area for years, but pollution has wiped out her home's value, leaving her no choice but to stay. Lauren Padell caught up with her today as she is using a new tactic to raise awareness. Lauren?
I've lived in Detroit 48217 probably the majority of my life.
This is a glimpse into what living in Emma Lockridge's zip code is like. Thick smoke in the air, protesters trying to get their voice heard, pollution everywhere.
This is the street closest to the refinery. You just drive over to the street and boom, this is what you see. You start gagging, you start coughing, and you realize you're inhaling their emissions because you no longer live near the refinery, you live in the refinery.
Lockridge says she feels trapped in her neighborhood on Deacon Street in southwest Detroit, a community also known as The Hole, thanks to their proximity to the Marathon Petroleum plant.
Most recent house on our street sold for $8,159. We're trapped. We can't stay, we can't leave.
But Emma says the people who lived in Oakwood Heights on the other side of the refinery were able to leave after Marathon bought them out. The reason?
Because we were implementing an expansion project that put our refinery's footprint closer to that neighborhood, we offered a buyout program to folks in that neighborhood who wanted to participate.
Oakwood Heights is now a green space and garden, technically a 100-acre buffer between the refinery and neighborhoods, just not Emma's.
We're all in the same zip code. They said they were on an island of pollution. Well, so are we.
The Oakwood Heights program was not necessarily because we needed the land for any industrial purpose. As a matter of fact, the expansion program was conducted on property that we already owned.
But with no buyout plan in sight, Emma hopes these pictures of pollution will show how desperate they are for help.
Now, all of the photos you see here will remain on display at Trinity St. Mark's Church in southwest Detroit, all leading up to a big forum on pollution that they'll be having here on Monday at 6 p.m. Emma plans on taking this exhibition to churches all across Detroit and hopefully one day soon to the steps of Lansing. Reporting from southwest Detroit, Lauren Podell, Local 4.
All right, Lauren. Well, Marathon says recent tests show they are only responsible for 2% of the emissions in that industrial area, and over several years they've been able to reduce it by 70%.
Well, it hasn't exactly been flying along, but the Gordie Howe International Bridge is moving closer to getting construction underway. Today, the Detroit-Windsor Bridge Authority announced it has requested bids from 3 international firms hoping to work on the project. Now, those firms now have several months to submit their bids. The Bridge Authority would then choose a winner, but you're talking all in all, that'll be about a year from now. The bridge, of course, be named in honor of the iconic Red Wing, Gordie Howe, iconic Canadian as well. It'll be 1.5 miles long with 6 lanes connecting Detroit to Windsor. It could open in 2022, so we're well away from it.
If you've ever seen the Ambassador Bridge, when all of the trucks are blinded from one end of the water to the other, you know we need it.
Yeah.
We had a beautiful day.
It was a lovely day today, wasn't it?
Yeah, we've had a streak of sunshine that looks like it's going to continue for most of this upcoming forecast. Now, the temperatures are a different story, but we almost set a record high today.
Nice.
Yeah.
And wind taking off some of those leaves, though, too.
Exactly. And yeah, a little bit of a bite to the air despite those warmer temperatures and the sunshine. Now, the gusts have started to calm down just a little bit, but some of these numbers, in fact, Lansing still has a 31-mile-an-hour gust, but we saw those peaks around 30 miles an hour in spots here closer to Detroit. And right now, it's generally 20 to 25 miles per hour for those wind gusts that are out there right now. But it has been a bright day, and those strong southwest winds have carried in some warmer air to go along with it. We hit that high of 63 and have now started falling. In fact, a lot of spots are in the 50s right now. But it was almost a 30-degree swing between low and high today, so that really did some work with the sunshine and the warmer air. Satellite image shows, boy, it's tough to find a cloud anywhere in the region. You got to go really north of Lake Huron into Canada to find that. And there is going to be a cold front slicing through, but as you can tell, there's not going to be a lot of moisture with it, cloud cover-wise or with the showers. So we're expecting this to pass through dry. The only thing that it may do is it brings the cooler air in. We are going to see some clouds coming in off of Lake Huron. And that's mainly going to be in our north zone and the north part of our metro zone tomorrow. So the west side of the southeast Michigan is probably going to see a little bit more sunshine. Nevertheless, everybody's going to be chillier as we head into the weekend. And the coldest that we're going to be seeing is Saturday morning start, when everybody is going to end up below freezing. And then we'll try to come back up a little bit with high pressure and control as we head through the remainder of the weekend. So let's take a look at temperatures in your 4-zone forecast. These are highs tomorrow. As we look at the numbers in our metro zone, they're going to be right around 50 degrees tomorrow, and that's going to be the warmest that we see. Most locations are going to max out in the 40s tomorrow. South zone right at 50 degrees, 49 here in Milan, Belleville, Carlton, you'll be at 49 as well. Not too much cooler as you work your way west and north. Upper 40s here, especially out in Livingston County, Howell, Brighton, both at 48 degrees. And in our north zone, we're looking at 46 to 48 for those high temperatures tomorrow. As far as the wind speeds go tonight, we will see those start to relax a little bit, but they're going to be noticeable again tomorrow, just not quite as much as what we saw today, 10 to 15 miles an hour. There's that chilly start on Saturday, but look at how much sunshine that we get to enjoy all the way through Thursday of next week. Temperatures, after moving around a little bit here in the next few days, will kind of steady out as we get into the early part of next week. Near normal in the afternoon. Morning lows a little bit on the chilly side, but hey, you know, we've only got 6 weeks till winter.
Yeah,
so
exactly right.
And we still want Indian summer, and we've got a chance after this freeze.
Yeah,
got to get a freeze first.
Get past that freeze, and we look for it.
All right, thank you, Ben. Well, this man right here calls it the biggest mistake he's ever made. New tonight, the crime he tried to commit that will sound familiar to Seinfeld fans. Coming up.
But first, 2 police officers caught in a deadly ambush shooting. We'll have that for you next. The search is over for the gunman who opened fire on 2 police officers in Pennsylvania today, killing one of them.
That's right. Authorities say the suspect, identified as Michael Kwislinski, along with a woman, were found dead in a home in Canonsburg, which is about 15 miles outside of Pittsburgh. The incident began around 3 a.m. 2 police officers came to the home responding to a domestic dispute. When they arrived, police say the suspect opened fire. Now, one officer was killed. As you can imagine, Canonsburg police are left reeling.
I really wouldn't begin to know how to personalize this. You know, it's just one of those things you hope you never get a call like that, and unfortunately it did happen to us.
Now, the second officer shot remains identified, but is now hospitalized in stable condition.
For the first time in nearly a decade, Apple is offering its customers the chance to buy pre-owned iPhones. Refurbished phones now for sale in Apple's online store. Prices discounted by up to 15% compared to the price on newer models. A 1-year warranty, a new battery, and new outer shell included with the purchase. Phones are also unlocked, meaning you can, of course, put them with any server or service that you'd like.
That Apple, they think of everything.
It took a while, though, to get that. A lot of people have been wanting it. Well, hard to believe. One more day
Is that just one more day?
Yes, I'm not sure if you've heard. One more day until you start your retirement. Another person who had the privilege of sitting in this seat wanted to say this.
Carmen, it's hard to believe nearly 20 years have passed since you and I did our last newscast together. And in those 2 decades, I've grown older, and you, my dear, you've only grown more beautiful. I know your legion of fans recognize what an attractive woman you are, but having known you and worked with you for so many years, I know the inner beauty that the audience may not see. Your kindness, your devotion to your family, your wonderful sense of humor, and your values. I know you as a woman of faith and integrity. So my friend, go into your retirement years confident that you're leaving a lasting and positive legacy. You've earned the right to spend more time with Andy and with your beautiful children and grandchildren. And know that even if you're out of the public view, you will always be in the hearts of all Detroiters, including mine.
Now that's going to make me cry.
That's pretty great.
Oh,
yes.
Mort, thank you so very much.
I would never take issue with Mort on anything except everybody sees the inner beauty too.
Thank you, Devin.
Back with more in a minute.
New at 5:30.
A 12-year-old boy critically stabbed in Grand Rapids, and you won't believe who police say did it.
The competition to get into a top college these days is tougher than ever. There's one hidden factor that could be a deal breaker. I'm Sandra Ali. I'll tell you what it is coming up.
Well, we know the election season is over, so why is this 84-year-old woman hitting the street, campaigning, passing out flyers, trying to drum up support for something that is dear to her heart? I'll explain how she got the police chiefs in 5 cities to come together in an open forum. Details coming up at 5:30.
It's dinner time.
Live from downtown Detroit. Local 4 News at 5:30 starts now.
Coming together tonight, an 84-year-old Detroiter is bringing members of the community together with some of Metro Detroit's top cops. It tops our news at 5:30. Bernice Smith is her name, and every month she and her 15-member committee meets with Police Chief James Craig.
Tonight, she's going a step further, branching out to police chiefs and mayors of 5 Metro Detroit cities. Jermont, Terry, live outside Tabernacle Missionary Baptist Church for tonight's meeting, and apparently nothing is off the table tonight, Jermont.
Yeah, you got that right, Devin. This is supposed to be an upfront conversation with those mayors and police chiefs. Now, anyone who has questions about how officers do things are supposed to sound off. But that 84-year-old organizer is hoping that people leave this church with a better understanding of both sides.
Yeah, man, you got a minute?
Miss Bernice Smith is out and about.
Today I have a big assignment.
The 84-year-old hands out flyers in the effort to get people to speak out and become educated on police and the community.
That the citizens here in the Detroit area, we get along with our police to a certain extent. I'm not saying they're all perfect.
Just like she's talking to people.
Yeah, man, can I see you for a minute? Just to look at this for me.
She called up the police chiefs in Inkster, River Rouge, Ecorse, Highland Park, and Detroit. And yes, convinced them to gather for a forum to have an open dialogue with the community.
I've heard the police themselves say at meetings that they're scared, the kids are scared of the police. Well, that is something that I want to get out of all the students' minds.
She's hoping this meeting will enlighten officers and the community about the importance of their relationship.
The conversation has to be ongoing. When you do that, you build trust.
Detroit Police Chief James Craig plans to stream the forum online, just like this chat with the chief session he held at the barbershop today. He knows everyone can't make the forum, but this is their way to be engaged.
Pop questions out. Ask the chief what makes Detroit different than, say, New York.
It's an 84-year-old Detroiter doing her part to enlighten her community.
I want them to come and let them know what it's all about and understand how their relationship with the police is very important.
And Miss Bernice is really hoping that some of the youngsters, the younger people, teenagers, early 20-year-olds will come out because she feels as if they're the ones who really have some of the tension with the officers. Now, this open forum kicks off in less than 30 minutes at 6 o'clock here at Tabernacle Church. That's right off Grand River and West Grand River and Boulevard. Jermont Terry reporting live. Now back to you.
Jermont, she managed to find a date that worked for all of those different people. This couldn't have been easy to schedule.
Not easy at all, yeah. She told me she started maybe about 3 months ago with the idea, and it took her a lot of time to get all these chiefs and some of the mayors to come out. So a dedicated woman trying to help the community for sure.
And she pulled it off. All right, Tremont. Kim?
As sharp as I don't know what to. All right, a crash this afternoon along the Southfield Freeway near Grand River. Firefighters rushed to the scene as a fire breaks out. Our Tim Pamplin was there as they worked to put it out.
This fiery wreck occurring along the Southfield Freeway northbound just past Grand River. There you see the fire trucks pulling up. Michigan State Police there hollering to these accident victims. Anybody inside that vehicle? Thankfully, they're saying no, everybody got out. There's a total of about half a dozen vehicles involved in this collision. There you see the firefighters getting the red line on this minivan, putting this fire out. And no word on the cause of this just yet. Again, no serious injuries is what I'm being told. Medics are on the way. I see them just down the Southfield here, heading north. One lady in a wheelchair there. She was in that minivan you see on the right-hand side as the medics now pull up on the scene. So again, to recap, a multi-vehicle fiery crash northbound Southfield. No serious injuries. The freeway has since reopened. That's the scene along the Southfield. Tim Pamplin, Local 4.
Okay, Tim, now to a developing story out of Grand Rapids. A 12-year-old boy is recovering after being stabbed by an 8-year-old. This happened Wednesday night. Police say the 12-year-old was taken to the hospital with a stab wound to his upper torso. The 8-year-old boy got into an argument with his siblings when the 12-year-old intervened, and that's when the 8-year-old picked up a knife and stabbed him. We're told the 12-year-old is in stable condition. The 8-year-old is being held at a juvenile detention center while police continue to investigate. Unbelievable. The owner of a Southfield business is using his good fortune to help keep some children from falling through the so-called cracks.
In this week's Heart of Detroit, Mitch Albom introduces us to Rayford Fry and how he's helping give kids the gift of sight.
Rayford Fry has been an optician and owner of Black and White Look Optical in Southfield for over 30 years. Knowing that vision care is too expensive for many families, Rayford has devised a way to provide glasses to his community at an affordable price.
We're actually the only black-owned company in Michigan that does additive manufacturing, where we take the raw material and manufacture the lenses.
And that helps you keep the cost down in yours?
Yes, that keeps the cost down.
A cost saver that allows Rayford to focus on needs in the classroom.
We know that a lot of kids fall through the cracks because they're not getting vision care, eye problems, and they just can't keep up in school. And we even offer to give them free glasses if their parents bring them.
That's a service that Rayford takes pride in. But more importantly, he stresses the need for comprehensive eye exams for all of his customers.
Look into the back of your eye, you can see if you have other diseases of the body that's affecting the eyes. And in today's lifestyle with all this high technology and everybody's multitasking, you need clear vision.
Clear vision doesn't mean compromising on style. Fashionable glasses is something else that Rayford provides to his community.
So it's very satisfying to accommodate someone with a pair of glasses that complements their looks. And then they come back and tell you that, oh, I really love my eyewear.
Outfitting his clients with affordable specs, Rayford Fry is helping his community see more clearly right here in the heart of Detroit.
There's a brand new challenge facing college applicants, and this one has nothing to do with getting good grades. New tonight, the new tactic some schools are using to weed out prospects before they even look at test scores. College admission staffs are increasingly looking at the social media accounts of prospective students.
In the age where everything is shared online, social media can reveal much more than an SAT score. Our Sandra Ali shows us how both students and parents need to prepare for this new frontier.
Not all college recruiters will admit to this, but these days, not only are top colleges and universities looking at test scores and grade point averages, but they're also checking out what you're posting on social media.
Sean Oja is a senior at Cranbrook, but he's been getting ready for college long before now.
My parents kind of raised me with this intense focus on education. Being immigrants, they had to study a lot to come over here to America and succeed.
As the competition gets tighter to try to get into more prestigious schools, college prep for many students is now starting early.
Sometimes it's really cutthroat.
Along with college prep, this 17-year-old took another big step during his sophomore year.
So I decided that when you type in Sean Oja in Google, The first thing you're going to find is my LinkedIn and then my personal website.
Sean decided to get a LinkedIn account and revamp all of his social media.
You should still have a Snapchat. You should still be able to, contact your friends and, share your highlights of the day. But I feel like you should have a difference between your professional image.
For many students, the real challenge in social media and college admissions is having them understand that social media is a communication device.
O'Connor says college recruiters and admissions officers will look at an applicant's Instagram, Facebook, or Snapchat, even though they don't always admit it.
If students are going into college thinking that this is basically an electronic diary, and that's the mistake that kids make. They feel like they can put all their personal feelings out there on social media and there's no real consequence. That's a real problem.
That's a lesson Sean is glad he learned early on before it was too late.
You can't kind of always be publicly broadcasting who you're dating or, who you're in a fight with.
Instead, O'Connor says use social media to your advantage as a way to show off your talent.
If you're thinking about doing film, put your links to YouTube up on social media so that when they are attracted, the top hits are going to be things that will put you in a good light.
Admissions officers also admit they track an applicant's social media behavior to try and help predict how likely they are to really succeed on campus if they're admitted. I'm Sandra Ali. Back to you.
All right, and if your teen is wondering if they should delete their social media altogether, experts say no. Instead, make your accounts private, and that way your name won't come up in search results. But you never know who's watching. How about that?
I've tried to, the phrase that I've tried to drill into my kids' head, the half-life of an internet isotope is forever.
That's right.
It
never goes away.
From the looks of it, the world has a brand new highest-paid athlete. We are talking about some staggering money.
New tonight, who it is and why a whole bunch of you probably have never heard of him.
And we are celebrating Carmen Harlan and her long television career. But her job at WDIV was actually not her first broadcasting job. You'll find out how she found out she really wasn't a morning person in just a minute.
Spring is in the air. A time for strolling through the park, baseball, and a time for asparagus. For the last 6 months, we've seen some of the best prices on lettuce, but iceberg lettuce is up 40% on the wholesale level this week, and it appears that it may stay that way for at least a month. From the Detroit Union Produce Terminal, this is Carmen Harlan, News 4 Detroit.
A local woman.
New at 6.
Some of the bravest dogs in Metro Detroit are getting some much-needed protection from the dangers that they face every day. At 6, why one local man was determined to see these canines get some new gear.
But first, we've got some breaking news outside of Orlando to pass along to you. A massive rescue effort is underway to rescue 2 bald eagles that are stuck in a storm drain. Firefighters are there. They've got the area blocked off as they work to try to free the birds, while you can see a growing crowd of people on the side there. They stand there and watch. It's not clear how the eagles got stuck there in the first place, but again, this is happening in Orlando. 2 bald eagles stuck in a storm drain. And we've been celebrating Carmen Harlan's nearly 40-year career at Local 4, but before she did TV, she was on radio.
And we spoke to really her first colleague ever in broadcasting to get a glimpse of her early years. It was the late 70s, and Jim Johnson was not the only one who had landed his first job in radio.
Yes, she did. She was my news person. In fact, I was hosting the morning show on WWWW in downtown Detroit, this old beautiful Victorian house on Jefferson Avenue.
There's an old joke in broadcasting about some people just having a face for radio. Carmen Harlan most assuredly does not have a face for radio.
Carmen's one of the most lovely people I've ever met in my life. She's strikingly beautiful, and I was thrilled to have her as my news person because I got to see her every day. I loved it. So yes, I knew that radio would be a stepping stone. She was very articulate, very well educated, great delivery. I knew that her next stop would be TV. Just didn't know where.
Of course, as it has always been, mornings at the microphone aren't easy. The hours are tough. And the woman who would go on to be such a good fit at 11 p.m. didn't exactly love 5 a.m.
So one day I go through the routine, I introduce Carmen Harlan with the news, and I hit her mic button, and I could hear her talking, but it was nothing. It was no fidelity. It sounded like she was on another planet. So I turn around and look, and there's no microphone in front of her. She was doing the entire newscast without a microphone.
She didn't notice?
She didn't notice.
That's my girl.
Well, you know, at 5 a.m., we're all a little sleepy. I get it.
And then another morning.
So I'd wander back into her office to let her know that news was coming up in a couple of minutes to make sure she was ready for it. Well, invariably, I would go back there, and Carmen's pillow was her typewriter keyboard. It was probably one of those Selectrics from back in the old days, right? And then she'd walk in the studio, and I'd always snicker because she'd come walking in, she'd sleep on the right side of her face, and when she'd walked in, that's what I'd look at, and you could see the square marks of the keys from the keyboard of the typewriter on her face as she walked in.
And did you have to wake her up for every news?
Not every time. This happened a couple of times, maybe. Or maybe I'm embellishing. Maybe it was only once, but it was such a good story.
I love it.
Be just once, but don't let that get in the way of a good story. Do you remember anybody?
I don't even know that name. You know, Jim Johnson? WFM radio? No, we had some good times there, believe me. Oh, my goodness, yes, for sure. I stayed there for almost 3 years. And
then
I had there was a caller that called one morning, and he said, "Can you tell me, is Carmen a blonde?" And I told him, he says, "What should I say?" I said, don't burst his bubble.
Yeah, whatever he wants. That's the beauty of radio. That's the beauty of radio. Good stuff.
It was good you got my call.
Yeah, that's Bernie. What do you have for us?
Look at you just taking a step and just showing up and taking
one more day. Just one more day.
Stop it.
Speaking of a face for radio, that's what she meant.
The wings are home.
Ooh,
wings.
Tough crowd here.
Really.
I tell you.
I'm telling you, this 5, it needs revamping. I'm gonna have to talk.